Hey there, my name is James McCrae. If you clicked on this video, you're probably someone who's struggling at math. Well, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to talk about my number one strategy that took me from a third grade educational level in mathematics to getting an A+ in calculus within 10 months. So let's get started. So who am I and why do I have the credentials to teach math? My name's James McCrae. I'm an accounting student, and there are a lot of math courses associated with my major. Because I'm also an honor student, I had to take trigonometry and calculus. Surprisingly, I found that they both came easy to me because of the excellent algebraic groundwork my former tutor gave me. For that, I'm forever in her debt. My goal is to inform students why they should learn algebra and how to understand algebra on a deeper conceptual level. So why should you learn algebra? Part 1. You need to know algebra in order to graduate from college, and you need to graduate from college in order to make good money. Without graduating from college, most end up in dead-end, low-paying jobs they hate. For example, flipping burgers, landscaping, roofing, construction, clerical work, waiter, retail, painter, trash worker, package handler, factory worker, delivery, etc. Most high-paying careers require higher-level math courses in college, and you won't do well in these courses unless you are proficient in algebra. Why learn algebra? Part 2. Algebra is a requirement to participate in professional careers, and it's a gateway to wealth and happiness. If you don't believe me, the figures below represent successful annual income levels for the respective careers. For a doctor, that's $250,000 to $600,000 a year. For a certified public accountant, that's $300K to $1 million a year. Financial advisor is $400K to $1 million a year. An attorney makes $300K to $1.5 a year. Executive officers for small and mid-sized companies make $500K to $2.5 million a year. Small business owners make $400K to $3 million a year, and traders make $500K to $5 million a year. You need to pass algebra in order to graduate with a degree that gives you the certification to practice in any of these professional careers, without which you stand no chance of making money of this kind. Now, I know some of the people watching this may think the photos that I have up are quite corny, but I put them up for a reason, and that's really to let everyone watching know the kind of lifestyle that can and probably will indeed happen for most people that go into professional careers. It's not out of the ordinary. If you're someone that knows how to handle your money and invest wisely, it most likely will happen. The yacht that they're on is a sailing yacht, and it's not too big. It's probably a 25 footer, and those are not enormously expensive. But for someone who makes money like I'm showing you now, it's actually very reasonable. So these are actually realistic expectations. Now, why should you go get an education and graduate from college and learn algebra and all that and go into a professional career, which I highly advocate, instead of starting a business with no degree or, trying to be an entrepreneur? I have nothing against people that want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur myself. The problem lies, however, in credibility. If you're someone who wants to start a business and you have no education, you're really only limited to very few skills that you can learn on your own, right? So that's marketing, that's sales, that's things like trade. So the trade careers, electrician, plumber, landscaper, mowing, stuff like that. Without education, you're limited to very few careers. You're not going to work in high finance. You're not going to start a hedge fund. There's so many opportunities out there that you'll never be able to do because you don't have the education to do it. If you don't have a degree, you don't have credibility. And angel investors that are funding startups aren't going to be inclined to work with you because they can't trust you, especially if you're working in industries that require a lot of knowledge. If you're someone who doesn't have a degree and you're trying to talk about that, and they see that you don't know what you're talking about, that in turn is going to make them wary of you and to want to stay clear. So whatever business you start, you're going to have a much better chance at success if you go to college, especially if you get a business degree. Over 90% of businesses fail within 3 to 5 years. So why would you start a business without a degree when over 90% of businesses fail, and most of those that are failing are people with degrees starting them, and they still can't do it? Over 90% within 3 to 5 years. And then you want to go out and start a business with no degree. I mean, your chances of success are extremely minimal. Not that it doesn't happen, it does happen. And for the people that happens to, most of those people are getting on YouTube and talking about their success and how college sucks, etc. However, when you look at all the numbers, you actually get to see that they are extreme cases on the ends of the Gaussian-Bell distribution curve that are successful without a degree. Most successful business owners have a degree, and only 15%, moving up to the higher level, talking about billionaires here, only 15% of billionaires in the Forbes 400 richest people in America got there without a degree. Okay. So that means the other 85% of billionaires in the Forbes 400 list all have degrees. That's not a coincidence. Your chances of success are so much greater with a degree. And even if you don't become an entrepreneur, you have the chance to put yourself in the top 1% of earners in America by going into a professional career like this. And that in turn will make anything else you do in life just so much easier to raise money, to start a business. Really anything you do after that, the kind of trust people will have in you is going to be way greater than if you tried to do it without a degree or without any sort of profession. This kind of money, if you're bringing in this kind of money, even if you just invest in very conservative ETFs that mirror the S&P 500, I mean, you'll be able to grow it quite substantially with this kind of annual income, in my opinion. So you're looking at an amazing retirement, you're looking at an amazing career without starting a business, but the kind of opportunities that open up to you after you have this kind of career are manifold. Hey guys, just wanted to jump on here real quick and talk about that last segment you just listened to in the video. What we really advocate here for at MathMage is to go into professional careers. Now, that's not just to say we want you guys to go to college for the sake of going to college. We want you guys to really pursue things like getting a JD, going to med school, or becoming a CPA. The reason we advocate for this is because we want you guys to be in the top 1 percentile of earners in America. And we want to essentially guarantee your success. Even if you don't go out and start a business or, become a billionaire or whatever, we want you guys to have that success if everything else fails. So you have a baseline of success, and any success on top of that is just icing on the cake. So let's get back to the video. Algebra compounds and is a requisite for good entrepreneurship and skills that run our society and the world. So if you look at the left here, we have an image, and this image was actually part of a presentation by Alex Hermanzi, who was an entrepreneur. And in this image, he talks about scaling the entrepreneur and everything compounds. So if you look down here, this is specifically the skill progression for someone who really goes the accounting route. And so at the bottom here, they learn math, and then that skill compounds and progresses into bookkeeping, which compounds into accounting, and then tax strategist. So we have a CPA, like I was saying earlier, $300K to $1 million a year. CPAs that are making that kind of money are most likely partners within their firms. Then you have insurance, deal structure, and capital markets. So it's not that you learn mathematics or you learn algebra and you're magically, going to make all this money. It's the skill compounds into another skill, which compounds into another skill, etc. But without math, without algebra, you really have nothing to stand on. And all the other skills fall by the wayside as well. So below are applications of algebra used directly or indirectly in different fields because it is the building block of almost all mathematics. Okay, so we have physics, electrical engineering, computer science, video game simulation and graphics, CGI for films, astronomy, crime investigation, aerospace engineering, civil engineering, robotics, land surveying, economics, business, finance, chemistry, harmonics and acoustics, trading, meteorology, medicine, space travel, and many, many more. In short, algebra is used in every branch of the physical sciences: actuarial science, computer science, statistics, engineering, economics, business, medicine, demography, and many other fields. Do you like trading and investing? You must learn algebra if you want to be a quant trader. or if you want to work in high finance at all, you're going to have to learn algebra. Quant traders have moved past algebra, but algebra is a requisite for them to do their work or to even get into the career that they have. What you're looking at right here is a stochastic calculus geometric Brownian motion stock model. So really all this is, guys, is just a mathematical formula that models randomness while accounting for positive drift over time. Positive drift being the tendency for a stock to go up and to the right over time, or for its average value to increase over time. So it does look like a stock chart, indeed, but all it is, it's literally just calculus modeling randomness with positive drift. That's really all this is. And within it, I pointed out that we see a head and shoulders pattern up top, a reverse head and shoulders pattern at the bottom with support and resistance all throughout. What this indicates is that technical analysis and chart patterns are really random phenomena. I actually wrote a paper on this in school, and it's not only that we come to that conclusion because of things like this, but there's also been studies empirically showing that chart patterns have no directional edge. So if you look at the top left here, these are the inputs to the formula, and then on the right, the screen, obviously this is the output of that. So a little bit about my background. I used to suck at algebra. I was tested at a 3rd grade math level when I was 19 years old. I was homeschooled in a family of 8 and received very little education. Whenever someone tried to teach math to me, I felt like everything went over my head. The struggle. I felt like I could not learn on my own and didn't even know where to start. All the algebra YouTube videos I could watch never seemed to help. I always had questions after the videos. All the information online seemed unorganized. It was like bits of information spread all over the place. I'd search for hours and sometimes for days just to try to find instructions on how to do one simple algebraic problem, but to no avail. I hardly retained anything I learned, and I felt like my future was ruined forever. How to actually learn algebra. So on the left here, we have annotations of a maximum revenue problem. When learning a new skill, do not just take notes. Rather, you need to rewrite everything you see, even if you don't understand it. Annotate your page with circles and boxes and write text highlighting key information, showcasing the steps for the skill you're learning. Draw arrows indicating the actions performed and how you get from one step to another. If this is done correctly, it's impossible to fail. So guys, this is one of the 2 biggest things that have helped me, and this is what I was talking about earlier. The major secret that I have is annotating. Sometimes I have pages of this stuff with explanations indicating what, why, and how we're getting from one section to another. And if it's done correctly, and if it's done in depth enough, you really only need to go through any lesson once and you'll know it. You may not know it right after, but if you go back and you study the notes and you really try to take in what you wrote down, even if you didn't understand it when you were writing it down, you're going to pick it up. This is one of the biggest things. Through my calculus course, it's been the same way. It's been sometimes pages and pages, and then other pages of nothing but examples with more annotations and me saying the same thing over again. So I get to see the steps performed, how they're performed, why they're performed, when they're performed, and really grasp it on a first principles level and have deep understanding to why we're doing what we're doing. And if you're just sitting in a class and someone's saying something and then you lose the teacher, you need to just start writing everything down at that point. You have to, or you can even take your phone out and start filming it. And when you get home later, you just watch your video and write it down, pause as you go, and make sure you're getting everything down. Like, you have to do that. Otherwise, it's, you may not learn something in class and then you get home and then it can be bad. This image shows the annotation of a maximum revenue problem. Notice how shoe sales decrease when shoe price increases, i.e., when the price of the shoe increases, the company experiences less sales because fewer people can afford expensive shoes. The price at which the company reaches maximum revenue is the same as the vertex, or the top, of the parabola or the arc line, which is $140. So that's going to be right here, the top of the arced line, the top of the parabola, the vertex of the parabola, $140. Okay, so you have the shoe sales decreasing, and then you have the price increasing. The relationship that they had here, guys, was they found that with every $20 increase in the price of their shoes, 100 less people were buying it for a given month, right? And that just really goes back to when you raise the price of something, you're going to have less sales because fewer people out there can afford expensive things because not everyone's rich. I have not seen annotations like this anywhere on the internet. So I actually came up with this myself. I think it's a very intuitive and simple way to explain it visually, but I haven't seen anyone represent a maximum revenue problem like this to really show you the relationships with the different vectors that I have going on here, the shoe price going up and the demand going down as the price goes up. So, it seems very, very simple. I mean, you have the price of the shoe, you have the demand going down, and then right here, TR, that stands for total revenue. Total revenue, or the place where this maximum revenue is right here, which is $98K. So at $140 per shoe, we had 700 people buy that shoe for a given month, and the revenue for that month was $98,000. So here are the skills covered. Here's chapters 1 through 3 of this course. The first module is going to be annotation strategies, exactly what I was just going through up here. I'm not going to go through and read every single one of these skills, but you can pause the video and look at them here. Here's chapter 4 and chapter 5, and then I have a bonus material section. Within the bonus material section, I cover formulas you must know. I have a common calculator mistakes and know-how series, skills to avoid doing by hand because every legal calculator performs them. I also have a mindset series, and this is the second biggest thing that really helped me learn math, because for the longest time, when I would lose someone, when I would lose a teacher as he was doing his lecture, I felt discouraged and my thoughts would turn inward towards myself. And I would just say, I'm not cut out for this. I can't do this. But it really wasn't until I actively believed that I could learn algebra that I started to learn algebra. Okay. So it's not just the annotation stuff. The belief that I could learn algebra turned into me annotating everything. That's part of the result of that. But you have to sit there and pay attention as hard as you can, even if you don't understand it, and even if you feel discouraged, because when you check out of a lecture, because you're like, man, this is over my head, I can't do this. When you start thinking those thoughts and you check out, you will never learn because you're not paying attention at that point. You're in your own thoughts of inadequacy. And it's not until you believe that you can learn something that you actually do. So the mindset series is huge. That and annotations are the two biggest things. Then I have a career series, how to leverage your knowledge in math to choose the best careers. And then I have how to succeed and move up in your career. So a little bit about that background. Before going to university in my 20s, I managed the energy department for a solar company within 2 states. And I was able to get there after entering the company in about 8 months. In this module, I just go through really what helped me do that. And I think they're skills that really can translate to any field that you go into. Why did I decide to create this course? People have always told me my whole life that I explain things very simply and that it's easy to understand. People have said this for many different things I've learned in the past and have taught, or, just in conversation as I'm explaining a concept to someone, they'll say comments like this to me all the time. And I've heard this my whole life. So naturally, after learning algebra, teaching it really did intrigue me, but putting it online, especially because it could reach the most people that way. A lot of people struggle with algebra, as I did, so I have a desire to help them break free and master it. One of the biggest things that holds people back in life is education, or the lack thereof. They don't have a skill, they don't have anything to leverage. With education, however, you gain power because you have this knowledge that, especially if it's highly technical knowledge, that is so hard to learn and to understand that you really become an asset to so many people out there. And it's really through that knowledge that gives you leverage and value to others and gives you that value to create a business and offer services, etc., or even to a company and be able to obtain better income. One of the reasons why I think people struggle with math is because a lot of teachers talk in ways that are hard to understand. If they would just speak plainly and tell their students how things work in digestible language, a lot more people would be good at algebra. Now, whether they're doing this knowingly or unknowingly, I don't know what it is, but I have seen a lot where teachers, they might be using the correct language, but the language is the mathematical terminology. But people that don't know all the terminology, they may get lost because they don't understand what these words mean and they can't follow them. So especially if someone is coming from a lower level, it's really important not to use that higher language, that higher mathematical language that is correct, yes, but to explain it in intuitive ways that anyone can learn, even if they don't know the language. So that's really a huge thing that I've seen, and one thing that I try to do myself whenever I try to teach someone anything like this. Because of my background, education is one of my strongest passions, and I think America and the world needs more educated people solving the biggest problems. I also want people to be able to live the life of their dreams, and algebra is a mandatory stepping stone to helping them achieve that. It's not that hard, trust me. Everyone just thinks it is. You just haven't found the right person to teach you algebra. You'll be amazed at how good you become within a short period of time, as I did. Changing mindset to focus makes all the difference. Otherwise, we check out before we even start and don't learn. Don't be discouraged. You may have tried other avenues, but my strategies will make math at least 50% easier. I adamantly believe this is the best algebra course on the internet. So next, I'm just going to show a few slides of what my peers said about me in my calculus class. Right here on the top of the page, you can see me explain derivatives. And below, Megan said this. She said, "I'm glad that you talked about the literal definition of the derivative, because sometimes when I look at a math problem, I'm just trying to solve for an answer or memorize an equation, which is not helpful for conceptualization. But your explanation helps me understand what a derivative actually is." Okay, and that's one of the biggest compliments anyone could give me, is that what I said allows them not to just perform actions and not just to memorize a formula, but to really understand from first principles what a derivative actually is intuitively. Alexis said this: "You seem to really do a great job learning the material, or seem to have a good understanding already. Great job." And I actually didn't have a good understanding already. It was all me learning it fresh and new on the spot with everyone else, and I think part of the reason why she said this is because of the annotation strategy that I utilize. Philip said this, speaking of derivatives: "You just explained it in a way that makes just so much more sense, and combined it with old terms that I learned back in the day." This is part of what I was saying earlier, where I could have used the language that they want you to use that is mathematically correct. I know that. But because we were coming from Algebra 2 and learning calculus, it's important for me to carry over some of that terminology so people can have a conceptual understanding of what's really happening. Philip also said this, speaking of integrals: "You did a great job describing integrals in detail, but also keeping it simple and understandable. I like how you also included the term nonlinear rather than just a curved line like I did, and how you also specified that the intervals are on the x-axis." So for the specific problems that we were doing, we were looking at the integral on the x-axis, so that's why I put that in there. And his comment of saying that I kept it simple and understandable is a huge compliment to me, because that's what I tried to do with it, and that's what I'm going to try to do with you guys as well for algebra. This is not just an algebra course. It includes the following: I don't just teach algebra. I show you my #1 secret that sent me from a 3rd grade math educational level to getting an A+ in calculus within 10 months. 12 hours of in-depth teaching material and strategies you won't find anywhere else, common calculator mistakes and know-hows, 27 individual algebraic skill modules covering everything you need to succeed, 7 extra bonus modules on how to mentally approach math and leverage your skills to find the highest paying careers, plus how to succeed in the workplace. Why is it $1,000? Everyone in the world goes to school and is taught algebra, but how come only a few are good at it? My belief is that this is because very few people know how to learn and retain algebraic skills. With my methods, you'll do just that. Earlier in this presentation, I talked about annotating your page when learning a new skill, and one of the biggest modules in this course goes over how to do that in depth. This alone has been one of the biggest factors in my math success. It is part of the reason why trigonometry and calculus have come easy to me. You only need to have someone teach you an algebraic skill once, and if you annotate it correctly, you will never have to learn it again. Your job is to become a scribe, meaning you will be writing a lot. If you're still unsure, but you're struggling in algebra, I promise this course will make math at least 50% easier. I feel that because of my background, I am able to explain concepts to struggling students in ways they can understand. It's not your fault you're struggling at algebra. It is most likely because you have a teacher that does not know how to explain things simply, probably because they've never been there. A lot of these teachers have always been good at math, and they may not be able to explain it the best to people that are struggling at math because they never struggled themselves. All you need is to have someone explain it simply, and you're golden. I've seen it happen with me 1,000 times, and I know it can happen for you too. This course can change your life forever and set you on a path to success. So what's holding you back?